Welcome to Legends in Leadership, brought to you by ISF and the Carrington Group. Legends in Leadership is an inspirational podcast featuring the stories of leaders who are making a difference. Our goal is to inspire you with the stories of leaders who come from humble beginnings, overcome challenges, and ultimately rise up to make a difference in people's lives.
Hello, folks. Welcome to Legends in Leadership. My name is Jason Smith. I'm a family officer with the Carrington Group. My co-hosts on today's podcast are Dr. Blair Ritchie, Executive Director of the International Student Foundation, and Kyle Watkins, a fellow family officer, joining us for the first time here on Legends in Leadership. Good morning, guys. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year. Good to be here.
Well, each week we like to kick off Legends in Leadership with our trivia question. We're fascinated by the stories of leaders who come from humble beginnings, rise up, overcome challenges to make a difference in people's lives. So, Dr. Blair, what's our leadership trivia question for today?
Well, I thought I'd start the new year off with a hard one. All right. So you have to know your U.S. history to know this one. So I'm going to make you think a little bit. Today's legend was born into slavery, was separated from his parents, and grew up in a culture of violence. But he taught himself to read and became known as the father of the civil rights movement. He was most well known for his dazzling oratory and amazingly incisive writings that provided the intellectual fuel that powered the abolitionist movement in America. Who was this slave who became an advisor to presidents?
Wow, that's a good one.
Yeah, I'll be back at the end of the program with the answer to that one.
Great. Well, we're excited to welcome Steve Gallegos, Stevie G, to the show this morning. Steve is an international bilingual speaker, best-selling and award-winning author, MC, personal coach, and trusted confidant on a mission to elevate others so we may all contribute to society on a higher level. Steve has been a law enforcement officer, attorney, singer, songwriter, Marine, and a lifelong student of personal development. So, Steve, welcome to Legends in Leadership. Great to have you today.
Thank you very much, Jason. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys.
Well, I kind of wanted to start by asking maybe some questions about early in your life, some of the early influences growing up in your childhood that put you on a path to where you are today.
Well, I was born a slave, so I'm the trivia answer.
Wow.
You've aged very well then.
Whoa.
Yes, indeed. Very well. Well, actually I was, because I had to work, do what I was told, and, all those things as kids have to do. So yeah, it's been an incredible journey, and the fun part of it is that it's just beginning.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people reach their 40s, 50s and think, heck, my life is over. And it's like, no way, with the advancements in technology and the way we live in society today with the resources that are available to us, I truly expect to live well into my hundreds and healthy too. So yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah.
Exciting time.
Well, I read about you being a reinvention expert, and I was curious about that. How does someone know they're needing or should be considering a reinvention of themselves?
Great question, Jason. And the quick answer to that is when something is not working anymore. In other words, when you're the tried and true, each one of us have a game plan that we enter life with. You come out of high school, into college, into the career, into the workforce, into the labor, force, and you have a game plan that was given to you by your parents, and eventually that'll stop working. You have a game plan that was given to you by your college professors. Eventually that will stop working, and the old tried and true then needs to be revisited, and in many cases you need to reinvent yourself.
Okay.
In other words, the things that got you here are not going to be sufficient anymore to get you there.
Right. So you've had quite a variety of industries you've worked in and positions and roles. Very interesting. I'm curious, what might you find as common traits or commonalities among people that you've respected in those different industries? Are there some common elements that you can pull even from the variety of places people are coming from?
The experiences have shown me one thing, is that you can find success at any level. You can find greatness at any level, whether you're just starting out in life and maybe just, high school dropouts. Okay, they have greatness in them. And then people that graduate with MBAs and doctorate degrees, they have greatness in them too. It's just the level of greatness and the level that we are able to perceive our own greatness is what allows us then to rise in whatever environment you are, because you can be a low-level worker, let's say, a minimum wage earner, and be the absolute best at that particular function, at that particular job, and you can be outstanding making, working in a franchise food place, cleaning floors or whatever it is. You can be the very, very best of that. Or you can be running a multi-billion-dollar company. What I found is that each one of us, regardless of what level you're in, of making income, regardless of the level of education, we're all human beings to start. And because we're all human beings, there's something that each of us want. We're all wanting something. And more importantly, we're all afraid of something. And so me knowing that allows me to then engage these individuals and meet them where they're at, instead of trying to necessarily bring them on board to, the spaceship that I happen to be traveling at the particular moment in time.
Right.
So that's the commonality that I found, is that greatness can be found anywhere, at any level.
And as people maybe express to you the desire to move into leadership roles, to become more of a responsible person, either within a company or in their own company, what are some of the things that you're encouraging them to do in that development to assume that leadership role?
The first thing, Jason, is we need to determine our why. I think that why, WHY, is the most important question that we can ask ourselves upon entering any new segment of our lives, whether it's a personal relationship, whether it's a new job, a new career, a new position, taking an advancement within the company that we're currently. Why? Why do you want that? If it's just money, it's been proven through history that money's not going to cut it.
No.
Money will only satisfy you for a certain period of time, maybe until you get the new Beamer, the new Aston Martin, and then it's not going to be sufficient anymore. And that's why a lot of leaders get themselves in trouble, or find themselves in trouble, having addictions and distractions, and going outside of their marriages and doing things at work that they normally wouldn't be doing, is because they're looking for something new and fresh, but they don't know that they're looking for something new and fresh. And so when something comes along that distracts them, takes them off their focus, it's easy to do that because they're dissatisfied. Okay, so if you ask yourself, why am I doing this? And you get down to the core basics of, is this going to bring me more of what I really need in my life, as opposed to something that I just want? Because the things that we want, those are fleeting, right? Today we want something, tomorrow we're going to want something else, right? But the things that we need, that in many cases is recognition.
Right.
Okay, we all need recognition. I don't care what level you're at. And we all need respect. We all need to maintain a high level of self-esteem. We all need security. Okay, and those are the things that will keep you motivated and keep you driven to stay on the course that you say you want to be on.
Yeah.
So you're tapping into some very deep things with that list. You are.
Oh yeah.
So how do you release that in terms of your coaching, or you're working with people in terms of bringing clarity and tapping into that?
It comes down to figuring out what the person wants, regardless of who I'm speaking to. And I've spoken to, and that's one of the things that I really love about my experiences, having gone through all of these careers, starting as a Marine and going all the way to being a board certified trial attorney, and the things I've done in between as a police officer and singer-songwriter, etc. I've been involved in so many environments that I've had the privilege and the honor to meet people from all walks of life and at all levels.
Yeah.
So I can easily walk into a boardroom and speak to executives wearing $2,000 suits as easy as I can walking into a jail or prison and speaking to someone that's never really had a shot at life. And I can relate to them because, again, going back to the two questions that I asked, we all want something and we're all afraid of something. And so I need to find out with clarity what that person wants. And in many cases, what they want is not really what they want at all. They just think they want it because it's the word of the day. It's the trend of the day. It's,
Right.
right? It's like, oh, I want that. Why? Well, because I saw so-and-so has it.
Because the commercial said I should want it.
Yeah, exactly. And so we're so easily influenced. And so I'm able to drill down through the training that I've had and experiences that I've had in the personal development space. And that to me is just the critical foundation for anything. And sadly, we don't teach it in schools and we don't teach it in colleges, but come to find out, you can have an MBA and a doctorate and PhD and all these things and have created billion-dollar companies, but at the end of the day, you're still human, right? And you're still subject to the fallacies that us humans are subject to. And so unless you get square with yourself, unless you get really, really deep connecting with who you are and why you're doing what you're doing, if you do that, you're going to succeed no matter what you do. If you don't, you're going to run into these roadblocks. And that's when we have, trouble. Oh my gosh, my company's going downhill. All of a sudden the investors are running out of the boardroom and, all of these things. Why? We start looking, and this is one of the fallacies in major corporations, is when profits are down, when business is down, we start looking at, okay, how can we teach my employees to do things faster, better, more efficient? No, that's not the case. You need to teach your employees why they're there, why we exist, why we're here as a company, right? So that the employees don't go to work every day and saying, this is just another job. I'm just here because it's, $17 an hour or because I got to pay the mortgage. No, that's not the reason why you should have a job. And the people that complain about having work is be thankful, right?
Right.
Bottom line is that we are all here to serve. I think that, somebody says, what's my life purpose? I'll tell you what your life purpose is. Your life's purpose is to serve. You just need to find your way of serving. And it can be, mopping floors, and it can be serving and leading nations, and every extreme in between, everything in between. You need to find a way to serve because that's all we do. Mm-hmm. Right? I don't care whether you're a realtor, or a lawyer, or a doctor, or a surgeon, or it doesn't matter. A professor. You're serving. No, what do you do for a living? I'm a realtor. No, you're not. What do you do for a living? I'm a restaurant owner. No, you're not. As a realtor, you serve people in their desire to buy the home of their dreams.
Right.
Okay, you're being of service to them in that field. As a restaurant owner, you're serving people who want fresh, hot, delicious, nutritious food. Right? You're not just a restaurant owner. And so when I get people to see that, oh, yes, okay, now I just need to find where I want to serve, and that turns on the lights for a lot of folks.
So where in your journey did you come to these types of realizations in the multiple places that you've had success? When did that light bulb come on for you?
It's been an evolution. I don't think that there was just a single point in my life where I said, there's been lessons learned along the way that I've, looking back, then been able to compile all these little points that connect all of these things together. Mm-hmm. And I do a lot of reading. And studying the leaders who I think are the leaders of the world, the leaders in business, people like Richard Branson, Tony Robbins, former President Reagan, Martin Luther King, and just people that have risen above struggle, people that have risen above mediocrity, people that have risen to do things just out of the ordinary, what I call being extraordinary and living remarkably. I study those folks, and I do a lot of reading. So it's putting all these pieces together. Believe me, none of this is my own creative genius, right? It's been all of these principles that I teach. I just put them in my own words, and I express them and share them with people, with the leaders that I do counsel and that I do work with. I put it in words that they can understand and appreciate that, so that it relates to them.
So is there an example that comes to mind of when you did it for yourself and it's had maybe a bit of an aha moment that you read something and implemented it and saw a difference that made in your own life?
Not really, because everything that you do is you're doing it for yourself. In other words, I didn't set out and say, okay, I want to become this kind of person. Okay. Right. It's just in the process, I became that kind of person. But first, having the clarity of what kind of person that I wanted to be. Okay. For example, one of the ones that affects each and every one of us here and everybody listening out there in the listening audience is your relationships, whether you're married or dating or whatever. A lot of people struggle because, I can't find the right guy, or I can't find a girl, or, I've been married all these years and I'm unhappy and dissatisfied and all of these things. Well, what we need to realize, and what I had to come to realize, and it took me a 10-year period to do that, is I need to become the person that will attract the kind of person I say I want.
Right.
And so right now I have an excellent marriage. My wife's name is Alethea. She's just absolutely incredible. But for me to be able to attract a woman like that, I had to become that person. I couldn't still be me, right? The me that I was, and expect to, win first prize in anything, right?
Right.
So it doesn't work that way. So it's about learning what you want. Again, going back to the basics, getting clarity.
Yeah.
What do you want? Who are you? Who do you want to be? What do you want your life to be like? And get really, really clear in each of those areas. I mean, we're talking having to sit down for a couple of hours a week or so and really writing down, this is what I want my life to look like. This is what I want my bank account to look like. This is what I want each day to look like when I awake. And these are the things that I want to experience throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now you look at that list and you go, that's a pretty formidable list. How do I get all those things? So, well, money's not going to buy it. I guarantee you that. And you're not going to fake your way to it. You need to become that person. Well, how do you become that person? Well, look at people that are already there, because, again, there are no secrets on this planet. Everything that you want, someone else really has already done it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In business, I want to create an airline. Well, somebody's done it. I want to create the iPhone. Somebody's done it. So you can create something similar. I want to be the best basketball player. Well, somebody's already done it, or at least claimed that. And so what did they do in order to reach that level of success in business or relationships, et cetera? And then see what they did that you can also model and
make that commitment.
And follow. Exactly.
Right.
And it is a commitment.
Yeah.
So there's the want side, and then you said there's the fear side.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that fear side and how I'm always intrigued. Is there a connection between the wants and the fears? And then how do you help people not be ruled by or dominated by their fears so that they can overcome those fears and not allow those fears to keep them from becoming the person that they want to become?
Great question. Great question. The fear side is something that we all struggle with, and even I struggle with it from time to time, probably less now than I did before, but it is something that we all deal with, and we have to wonder, okay, well, what is it and where's this coming from and why? The fear is nothing more than our inner, well, let's recognize first that we need fear. So the idea of eliminating fear is nonsense. We're not ever going to have that occur because we need it. You need fear because fear is that moment that will allow your body to go into that fight or flight. Yep. And many times you need that fight or flight, because imagine if you were fearless or something, someone comes up and puts a gun in your head or, something like that, you may not react, right? It's the fear that allows you to react. In many cases, it's run.
Right.
Right. Or in other cases, it's run towards the problem and issue and tackle it, right? If you're a defensive lineman for the Cowboys, go tackle those guys without fear. So sometimes we go toward it like first responders do. Right? They're afraid when they roll up on a house and it's on fire, or police officers roll up and someone's locked up in a house with
uncertainty of what's
kids.
behind that door.
Exactly. So they're afraid, but they run toward it. Okay. Many others run away from it. Okay. So when we recognize that we need fear, then the idea then becomes, okay, how do we manage this? Okay. Recognize that most fears are, I think it was Mark Twain, it says, something along the lines of, I was more afraid of the thing. Oh, I forget the phrase.
It's kind of the size of the dragon, where there's a greater fear of what it might be than what it actually was.
Exactly. In other words, he was more afraid in his imagination than what the reality actually produced. Right. In other words, I didn't need to be afraid of that. So when I give my talks and we talk about the concept of fear, I show a graphic. It's a little bulldog that is jumping back in fear of a little squeaky toy, right? Because puppies will do that, right? Young puppies, your little squeaky toy, and some will say, hey, that's cute, and they'll gnaw and destroy the squeaky toy. Others, like this little puppy, when he was captured on photo, it wasn't my photo, he drew back, and so he's like jumping in the air, and he's got this grief-stricken look on his face. I say, and I show people, fear is nothing more than a squeaky toy. Because unless you're being faced, you're confronting a lion, a true lion in the wilderness or at a zoo or whatever, he escapes. There's really no reason to be afraid. In other words, we're afraid because the boss isn't going to allow us to take the time off that we want. They're not going to give us a promotion. They're not going to allow us to execute the project that we came up with that we're so passionate about. We're afraid to do that because, number one, fear of rejection. Well, you've been rejected a lot over your life, and what's happened? We're still here, right? You still have your hair, you still have your arms, you still have your, right? You're still here. Yeah, it may have like stung a little bit to get turned down by the prettiest girl in school or the most handsome guy in school or whatever to get, the promotion. But, just recognize that no or rejection simply means not now. Okay?
Yeah.
Not now. So that's one way to handle it.
I want to go back to the Reinvention Expert. So how does somebody know when they need a reinvention of themselves? And how can they do that as a leader, maybe in a company, without losing the confidence of the team underneath them?
When you get to the point where you say, this is not working anymore. Something's not working. I've tried everything that I know. I've tried everything that has worked before, and it's no longer working. At that point, you need a new start. You need something new. It's just like in marketing. When sales are done for a product, what do? New and improved. And all of a sudden, it flies off the shelves. Mm-hmm. Whereas it's the same product. So in many cases, depending on the situation, all it needs is a little bit of repackaging. All it needs is a little bit of restructuring. All it needs is moving things around, make things fresh. Just like this is why spring cleaning is so effective in our households, is because, over the winter months, we're locked in and everything. The air gets stale and those kinds of things, and we're really not living our best lives. Yet spring comes, and all of a sudden we open the windows, fresh air comes in, and we get this new vibrancy to do things. We become re-energized in our businesses and in our personal lives, etc. We go outside more, right? We connect with the earth. We connect with the spirit of who we truly are. We go outside and play. Right? And we call that spring cleaning, where you can have that emotional and mental and physical spring cleaning too of your bodies, which is why people join the gym in January, right? They're tired of carrying the weight, right? They're tired of carrying the burden of all this, I don't feel good, and lethargy, and, just feeling bad about, having eaten 3 platefuls of food and those kinds of things. And trust me, I suffer from it too. I was saying the other day, I says, I'm here because I want to get rid of the 3 pounds that Santa gifted me that I didn't even ask for. So to answer your question, or to go back to the answer, is that when things aren't working anymore, then you need to, again, and each environment is going to be different, so I can't give an answer, say, do this, and you're automatically going to reinvent. Like I said, if it's in a personal relationship, you need to reinvent yourself to become the person that will attract and support and deserve, in many cases, the kind of relationship that you want to be in. Because a lot of people don't think they deserve it. And so until you think you do, you're going to keep getting the opposite of what you want. Yeah.
One of your recent Facebook posts really stuck out to me when you were describing your time as an attorney. And you mentioned a quote from Cohen in that post. And you said you got tired of being a zealous advocate to the point of even lying for your clients on behalf of your clients. And you sacrificed a great deal of the partnership with your firm. You said you were pushed out of that partnership.
Correct.
And so, what is so important about truth that you were willing to give up so much to now be more truthful?
Guys, it comes down to feeling. How do you feel, right, at the end of the day? And it may sound cliche, when you lay your head down at night, do you really feel good about the things you did today? Do you really feel good about the way you showed up at work? Do you really feel good about the decisions you made, the things you said, the words that you uttered. Can you rest? Can you close your eyes and say, this was another spectacular day, thank you?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Can you really do that? Or do you go home and you struggle with, man, did I have to do that? Did I have to say that? Or something icky about the situation? It's a feeling, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's your internal guidance system telling you, you did the right thing under the circumstances, but it may not have been the right thing for you, ultimately. So, again, going back to clarity, it's very important with getting in touch with who you are and deciding, am I really the person that needs to be in this role? Why am I here? And I had to come to that question
Mm-hmm.
as a lawyer. And as I started making the decisions that took me or that started that line in the sand, if you will, separating me from the way that I practice law in comparison with the way that my partners were practicing law. I mean, think about it. The legal profession is something that's been around forever. It's going to continue to be around, but I think that there's an inherent conflict between the lawyer and their client, regardless of the situation.
Okay.
And I've lived it, and I experienced it, and that's why that was one of those revelations that came to me. And, you were asking, how did you come to put all these pieces together?
Yes.
That was one of the situations. One in particular was I had a client come to me that was being prosecuted for insurance fraud. And they came to me. They were also Latino family, and they came to me. They brought the parents were there, and everybody was crying. And because of our similar, we spoke Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
In the Spanish culture, in the Hispanic culture, we really tend to grab onto someone else that speaks our language and
Sure.
understands us.
Sure.
And so because I was in a position of authority, in a position where I could help, they really please help us. And, in Spanish, and, hey, you can come over for dinner and my wife will cook for you. All of a sudden I was an insider to
Mm-hmm.
them, and I felt really bad and say, yeah, this is terrible. This shouldn't be happening to these people. And I feel bad and sad for them. And, I'm going to help them, blah, blah, blah. So the next day I called the district attorney and I find out, hey, what's going on? And you should blah, 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 right? I'm going after him. He says, Mr. Gallegos, he says, one question for you. Yes, sir. Have you seen the videotape?
Oh, gosh.
Right? It's all about the question.
Oh,
it's all
gosh.
about the question. Have you seen the videotape? No. Well, let me send it to you. Says, okay, so he sent me the video. And I have to agree, yeah. My clients didn't tell me the whole truth. So I called them back in for a meeting, and I said, now explain to me again what happened in the situation, and, this time, but you got to tell me the truth.
Yeah,
and I
all the
gave him an
details.
opportunity, right?
Yeah.
I gave him an opportunity, and I said, it doesn't matter if it hurts, if it's embarrassing, if any little thing I need to know before I put you up on that stand and I ask you questions that is going to, come back and bite us with your answers. And again, the same story. They took about 45 minutes, and I listened intently, made more notes, and saw where it differed a little bit from, our previous meeting, etc. And then I said, let's watch this. And I showed them the video. Okay. And their faces turned red, and they're crying, and they're, but. And I said, but no, I can't represent you.
Yeah.
I can't put you on the stand and just have you lie. I mean, that's the only way out of this. Because they didn't want any other option. They didn't want the other option of negotiating and getting a plea bargain or anything. So I turned the client away. My partners say, hey, how'd the meeting go with the new client? Blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, yeah, this happened and this happened. I got the videotape. And they go, oh, no, the videotape. And then I said, so I turned them away. And they're like, you effing what? I said, yeah, I turned them away. How could you? That was $100,000 retainer.
Wow.
Right? And I thought you guys, I said, what business are you in? Who are you really representing? And so what that taught me was that there are many situations where a client will go to a lawyer, and the lawyer knows that he or she can resolve that case quickly, either through a phone call or a letter, or filing quick motions with the court, etc. However, because they're on the 15th floor of the skyscraper building, and because we've got Cadillacs and Mercedes and BMWs in the garage, and we have mortgages, up on the hill and those kinds of things, we have to make a new decision, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
And our decision is, how much money can I make off of this particular case? And I need to bill a certain number of hours, or direct the associates, you need to bill a certain number of hours on this case. is every time that I resolved the case in favor of my client in advance of what the billables should have been on that particular case, my partners got mad at me. And as a result, they found a way to say, you know what, you don't belong with us anymore. And so ultimately that happened, and that was one of the sad moments in my life. It was a scary moment indeed, because it happened like from one night to the next. And although I tried to reason with them, it didn't work. So I ended up suing them, and I won.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
So again, going back to, the point, at what point do you decide and you make these decisions? Can I keep lying? Can I keep, even though it's part of my job, right? PR people do this. Right? No, my client wasn't there, even though, he or she's in a picture. That is your client. Can we be sure in that that's photo. Her? Yeah, no, it wasn't my client. It's a lookalike or whatever. We'll get back to you. No comment and those kinds of things. It's why are you doing this? And if it's not you, if you realize that's not what you want to be doing, if your heart isn't in it, if your inner guidance system at night is telling you, dude, what a terrible day you had. Yeah, you made money, but yeah, it shouldn't have gone down that way. Then you need to start making new decisions. And this is where the reinvention element comes in. And so, okay, well, where do I belong then? Because someone and I'm not saying that I'm an angel, right? Because as my wife will tell the whole world, and that's the title of my next book, is The Rule Breaker's Handbook. I'm a rule breaker, which is different from a law breaker. Although I have broken laws before, right? There's been that stop sign that's, sorry, officer, I didn't see it. So, but there's a way to manage, and there's a way to get things that you want, in a way that doesn't hurt others, right? In a way that uplifts and elevates others, and that, as my wife also tell you, I love to bring people with me. Someone invites me to a nice event, like I was thinking of, who else can I invite to this podcast with me today? And then I thought, wait a minute, it's not my show. I can't bring other friends of mine. Come on, you can get exposure too, right? You can be on this show and share your brilliance and stuff. So that's what life is. And you asked me all these different careers that I've had and why did I switch? How do you go from a police officer to a lawyer to being a recording artist and being on stage? And some of these things just don't mix with people and say, when something's no longer fun, I find something new.
That's great
to get into.
Yeah. Well, that's, I think, a great place for us to wrap up, and really appreciate you making time to come visit with us today and share some of your experience and knowledge and leadership.
Oh, guys, this has been so much fun. Thank you for the incredible questions.
So how will our listeners connect with you?
Our listeners, my favorite places are Facebook. It's Stevie G Success is the name of my page on Facebook, and also on Instagram. Instagram is really where I share a lot of the wisdom in these little short quotes, but you'll see an image on Instagram, but behind it there's always a story, there's always a teaching point. And so that's it.
Great. And Stevie G was kind enough to bring a couple of his books, his music CD. And so what we're going to do is we'll find a way in the comments to expand on this trivia answer, maybe ask a follow-up question, and the right answer we'll have to send them one of these fantastic books.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
So with that, Blair, we'll turn it back over to you to find out who the answer is.
Well, it wasn't Stevie G, by the way, the slave that was born a slave. Who became an advisor to presidents. But if your U.S. history, maybe one of the most forgotten abolitionist influencers was a man by the name of Frederick Douglass.
Oh, yeah.
Frederick Douglass is the answer today.
So how about this? Let's say first person to comment on the YouTube channel of which one of the presidents he was an advisor to, we'll send them one of Stevie's fantastic books.
Very nice.
Very good.
Well, thank you again for joining us. As we like to say, if you are someone who inspires others to do more and be more, then you are a leader.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Legends in Leadership is brought to you by ISF and Carrington Group. ISF is committed to leadership development for aged-out foster care and orphan youth. ISF's mission is to transform these youth into tomorrow's leaders with scholarships, mentoring, and leadership training. Google International Student Foundation to learn more. Carrington Group is a family office with a passion for helping business leaders and their families make smart choices and fulfill their highest aspirations. Google Carrington Group Dallas, Texas to learn more.
Securities offered through Regulus Advisors, LLC. Member FINRA/SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Regal Investment Advisors, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor. Regulus Advisors and Regal Investment Advisors are affiliated entities. Carrington Group and this broadcast are independent of Regulus Advisors and Regal Investment Advisors.